Hi, very good morning, everyone. We'll be starting the session right on time in the next few minutes. Just to introduce you, we have already our speaker here with us, William Bailey, and I'm Rasha Khan. I am your host for today's webinar, and you can let us know where are you tuning in from, and just give a little bit introduction about yourselves as well, because we have some time. We can utilize that for a quick round of introductions here, because I see a lot of you folks have actually joined us early, and you can drop us a hello with your name and let us know where are you tuning in from. So yeah, also we are streaming live on our YouTube channel as well. So folks who have joined us live, you can give your introductions on the YouTube live chat box. In today's program review, we'll be talking about the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp and how you can steer your cybersecurity career ahead in 2024 with the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp. So I see one introduction here in the Q&A box. Karan says that he's joining from Rajasthan. Welcome, Karan. Good to have you here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It's fantastic to have you all folks on board, and also folks who are watching us live on our YouTube channel as well. So we're just starting the session. Before we start the session, let me do one thing. Folks, you can put down your introductions. Oh, okay. Let me turn on the chat option. I think you should be able to message us now on the chat box. Apologies for that. So you can give us your introductions on the chat here. Let me just put a hello once again here. Hello, everyone. Yeah, you can now put down your messages on the chat box. I see Joshe has joined us. Amit here has joined us from Bangalore. Welcome, Amit. Good to have you here. We're just doing a quick round of introductions on the chat here. Folks who have joined us early, and we'll be starting the session right on time. Meanwhile, while I see the introductions have started coming in on the chat, please keep the introductions coming in. Let me just quickly take you through the few quick ground rules we have here for the session. So if you have any questions for our speaker, William, who has already joined us, you can put on your questions in the Q&A box, and you can easily navigate it just beside the chat box. Now, why the Q&A box? Because that will make it easier for us and our speaker to check out your questions and actively answer them as well throughout the session whenever the speaker gets time. If not, there'll be a special duration towards the end of the session for taking up the questions you might have. Also, the session is being recorded in case you want to go through the recording of the session. Once again, in case you missed anything, you can expect a follow-up email from us with the recording link within next 24 to 48 hours. And also about the webinar certificate here. Now, for attending the webinar here, not for the program part, so you'll be getting a webinar certificate for attending the webinar. For that, we will have to know your full name, which you would want to see on the webinar certificate. So for that, it is very important you go and request a proof of attendance for this webinar by entering your full name in the post-webinar survey. So please do that. Please enter your name in the post-webinar survey, which will be a pop-up by Zoom. Folks who have joined us live on Zoom. And once this session ends, which is of 60 minutes of duration, you will get a pop-up by Zoom asking for a survey, which will basically ask your full name if you want the certificate of the webinar. So thank you so much for introductions. I see a lot of new folks who have joined us, and also on our YouTube channel as well. I'll just check out your introductions. Just allow me a few minutes. And this program is powered by Simplilearn, world's #1 online bootcamp. We are very proud that we have been in the digital skills training space for almost a decade now, and we have been transforming lives by empowering people via these skills like AI, machine learning, data science, business analytics, cybersecurity, which we'll be talking about today, cybersecurity, cloud computing, DevOps, and many more other categories we cover. We have advanced over 5 lakh plus careers in over 150 plus countries, and we have 800 plus qualified trainers. We have a lot of business partners of program here. One of the huge partners being Caltech here, which we'll be talking about the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp here today. Let's quickly go through the agenda of today's session. We'll be starting with about you, like getting to know a little bit about you, questions you might have. We can help you with in terms of cybersecurity career, and also the program we'll be covering today, the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp. We'll be talking about more in detail. And in case you have any questions about the program, please feel free to go and put down any questions you might have about the program or cybersecurity careers in the Q&A box. And we'll try to address as many queries as possible throughout the session whenever the speaker gets time. And as I mentioned earlier, there'll be a Q&A part. So in case we miss your query, or if you have a query after we are done with the program preview, you can let us know. We will answer it towards the end as well. So please don't worry, just have a little patience and make sure to keep your questions related to cybersecurity careers or about the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp, which will be covering in this program. So once again, welcome everyone. I see a lot of new folks have joined us. I see on our YouTube channel, I see Munish has joined us from Jaipur, Disha from Kolkata. I see Steve has joined us from Peru. I see Chonai from Nigeria and Simon from US on the Zoom here. Harriet from US, Tony from US, Shrija from US, Godwin from UK. Welcome everyone. Thank you for your amazing introductions here. We'll be starting the session now. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be getting to know a little bit about you. So let's start with a quick poll here. So the first poll here is, how many years of experience do you currently have? So let me just quickly launch this poll. And this way we'll get to know like folks who have joined us have what kind of experience here. So why this poll? Because usually we get folks from, coming from different set of experiences, and that makes the session completely diverse. And also these responses of this experience poll helps our speaker as well, to tailor his responses according to the kind of set of audience with the different set of experience who has joined us. So I see that when I was actually talking about the poll, you folks have already started responding on the poll here on Zoom. I'll just read out these options for you for folks who have joined us live on our YouTube channel. So you can just put on your responses by answering 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. So the first one here is currently studying. Second one, 0 to 3 years. And third one, 3 to 5 years. And the last one, more than 5 years. So you can basically select the most suitable response for you. When I talk about experience, when I'm talking about work experience here. So in case anyone has any doubts about that. I see a few more introductions on the chat here. Nosa has joined us from Nigeria. And I see Fatia has joined us from Algeria. So welcome everyone. It's fantastic to have you all on board. We're just starting the session. In case you have just joined us right now, please don't worry. We're just doing a quick poll here before we start the session. Awesome. I think last 5 seconds, folks, for the poll here. How many years of experience do you currently have? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll here and also share the results with you folks. Let's see what have you voted for. I see 63% of you have voted for currently study, and 20% of you have voted for 0 to 3 years of experience, and 70% of you have voted for more than 5 years, and 0% of you have voted for 3 to 5 years. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And let's quickly move to our introduction of our speaker who have already joined us today, William Bailey. So would like to welcome William, and thank you for taking out the time for this program review of Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp. We have an interesting program review lined up with a lot of details about the program and how basically it can be, career changing for someone who basically wants to pursue cybersecurity. But we would love to know a little bit about you as well before we start the session.
Well, my name's William Bailey, and actually, I just realized I said 25 plus years of experience, and every time I go, I have to update this. It's like, oh, wait, there's another year. Oh, there's another year. In fact, I was doing information technology, and then I sort of morphed or changed into information security because we started to get concerned about security. I'm involved with local boards like ISACA and ISSA. I'm also involved with some other organizations, Diana Initiative, which is looking to raise up folks who oftentimes are trying to break into cybersecurity. I've worked across different sectors. One of my more significant roles was I was leading an information security program for a financial institution. In the United States, we'd call it a credit union, but it's like a bank, but it's owned by its members. And that's where, so I've done the audit roles and I've done the engineering roles, and then actually led the whole program and stood the program up and brought in vendors and things of that sort. And of course, I always have to add a fun fact here. I have two cats who are named Kirk and Picard. So I guess you know my favorite TV show.
Thank you so much, William, for introduction here. And we'll be moving towards the first agenda of today's session here, talking about careers in cybersecurity in 2024. So let's start with talking about cybersecurity, how it is exactly playing a vital role in our business and personal lives.
Well, every time we think about cybersecurity, all of us are connected all the time. I the fact that you have everybody here. If I ask you to raise your hands, I probably get everybody will raise their hands and say they've got a smartphone, right? And everybody, if I say, okay, what's your thermostat, right? Oh, is it something that's programmable? Can you connect it to over the internet? They raise your hands, right? What about your car? Oh, your car phone's home, right? Some people even have like vacuum cleaners. Yeah, so you've got these mobile devices, you've got the Internet of Things types of technologies, which have just permeated our lives. Now, in 2021, this is actually a good point. Finally, we're seeing half or more of the various CISOs or CIOs would actually admit that they haven't fully mitigated the risks with various remote issues. Because 2020 was the Wild West. There was this thing that happened. Remember what happened in 2020? And actually, we are almost at the 4-year anniversary. We are just 1 month shy. Yeah, I was one of the people. I actually presented at RSA conference out in California. I hit the ground on the East Coast. I went into work and I got sent home at 9:30 in the morning because there were people coming home from RSA conference with COVID-19. So, I was supposed to teach a class in China. We went virtual real fast because we were not traveling. And so, the digitization or cloud adoption back in 2020, we just got thrust into that because you were sending people home with computers and printers and going on and buying these services. And there were all these vendors who were saying, well, you're going to buy this service. We'll give it to you for free for 14 days. What do you do at the end of 14 days? As we know, COVID-19 lasted a lot longer than 14 days. So 2021, yes, we're realizing that the CISOs and CIOs and that they're recognizing the fact that they really haven't mitigated all the risks. There was a business risk that they had to deal with. The business risk is you need people to do their jobs. You can't just shut down your business for that long period of time. And then, of course, right? COVID-19, what do we do? All that cloud adoption, we just rushed because that was the only way we could do it, right? We had to turn to different cloud-based solutions to do it. And those mobile and Internet of Things technologies, I don't know how many people here have ever been prompted. There was a presentation last year at DEF CON, and it was all about the vacuum cleaner that basically the researcher found the vulnerability that it was sending all sorts of data unencrypted, and the manufacturer's response was, here's a $50 discount to buy the new model. And so that's where we're seeing oftentimes our mobile and Internet of Things technologies they're fast growing threat vectors because they're there and they're on. It's easy, just plug it in, right? But then that device doesn't get updated. That device has all these vulnerabilities. And actually, years ago, there was one, and people forget now, a couple. There was the target breach started from an HVAC vendor, subcontractor that was supporting their heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. And there was also the Las Vegas casino that got breached because of a temperature or thermometer on a fish tank. Yep, that's Internet of Things. And we obviously still use Internet of Things.
Thank you so much, William, for shedding some light on how cybersecurity is playing a vital role on in our business and personal lives here. So, starting with talking about the hottest skills, which will be in demand in the cybersecurity space in 2024. As you can see, there are so many skills here on the screen here, but I'm pretty sure folks would love to know what they can start with as well and go from there.
So what do you start with on this? I mean, we see some terms that are oftentimes, vendors will say zero trust. Um, and you see zero trust, zero trust. And of course we see AI, because how many of you bought your new Samsung Galaxy S24s last week? I think it was last week or a week before. The new AI phone. Everything's artificial intelligence. And the that's where we're starting to see the cybersecurity space, really the AI and the controls around AI. And that reminds us of the data privacy and security, because what you feed into AI then belongs to the AI. So if I type something into Bing Copilot or whatever they're calling it this week, because I know the names are changing on some of these tools, well, once I type it in, now it's there. Just like, well, when you type something into Google, it's there, right? Google is tracking it. So where do we see, the hottest skills? Of course, basic security. You get into threat analysis, detecting threats. And of course, you can't do everything. So you learn how to do threat analysis. You learn how to do threat hunting, and you hope that you don't have incident response. And then you start turning to automation and orchestration. So once because you find, okay, this is repeatable, this is something I'm doing all the time, and so that automation and orchestration becomes very big. So, if I had to, obviously, I'm always concerned about data and privacy, no matter where my data is. I'm concerned about the cloud and the fact that all those Internet of Things, by their very nature, connect to the cloud. And so for a lot of folks, I think I saw folks at the, in the earlier years, you're probably focused on a lot of that threat hunting, the identity and access management, because you're securing the systems. And you're either, and of course we have it on the slide, I think, you're either defending or you are testing those controls to see that those controls, and I call them controls, it's an auditor. I'm sorry, I played the role of an auditor for a few years, so sometimes you'll hear me say controls. We put a firewall in because it protects our systems. It controls the damage from the attackers. Now, I could be defending. I put the firewall in place, but I could also be called in to test that firewall, to see if that firewall is hardened properly, if the patch has been applied, things of that sort. So I think for a lot of folks that I saw in our audience, the threat hunting, threat analysis, definitely key areas there. If you want to be a developer, DevSecOps, and let's teach those, that software development lifecycle. Let's get some security baked in there. And so those are some great places that I think a lot of folks, you're going to find your skills that you need to have. And of course, it's going to be in the cloud, without saying.
That sounds interesting, William. Also, thank you for taking us through these skills in cybersecurity space in 2024. Now that we have talked about the skills, how can we miss talking about the career paths, which will be arising through these skills here? So, we can see a few trending cybersecurity career paths in 2024. Maybe if you can shed some light on these career paths folks can pursue in 2024.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mentioned the threat intelligence or the threat hunting. Now, if you're just starting out, oftentimes you may be positioned on a SOC or a security operations center. And some organizations will say, you don't have experience, we're going to put you in a SOC. And you say, but I want to be a cloud security engineer. I want to be a security engineer. Well, oftentimes you step through the SOC to get to those engineer positions because you understand how to build the systems, because you've worked on the operations center side of things. Now, it's oftentimes very good to be a security analyst or a consultant. And you could be a consultant to just your one organization, or a lot of folks like the approach where they'll be a consultant and they'll work for a managed service provider or a managed security service provider, MSSP. And that's great because you get to see lots of environments and you get a lot of exposure. And that really helps you as you move into those engineer type of roles. And you heard me earlier say, am I defending or am I, testing? Right. I almost want to say attacking, right? And that's that, the a lot of these first series of roles or career paths, these are all folks who are defending. And when you look at the penetration tester or the ethical hacker, right, those are the people who they focus on how can I defeat that system? How can I get into that system? But I'm doing it with permission, and I'm doing it so that I'm working on behalf of that organization. And then I find something, I report it to them, and I'm not exploiting it. I'm not taking this and putting it on the dark web if I'm in that role. No, I'm reporting the findings so that that organization can fix it. And that presenter back at DEF CON, same thing. It was presented to the manufacturer in an ethical fashion. The research that they did. So as far as your security paths, you'll probably start out with that SOC analyst, right? You move into security analysts, and then as you have your experience, you look at these other roles that are out there. And if you really like breaking things, that maybe you do want to be that penetration tester.
Thank you so much, William, for taking through the cybersecurity career paths. We'll be talking more about that. And I know for you folks have a lot of questions about career paths because I can see it coming. Also, just a little request, if you have any questions for our speaker, you can put on questions in the Q&A box. That is where we'll be taking questions from. So thank you so much. So yeah, the next slide here shows an example of December 2023, 23andMe breach, William.
23andMe. This is an interesting one. And 23andMe's response has been interesting. And there have been 30 lawsuits so far because the reason why, well, there were 14,000 accounts that were compromised via credential stuffing. Now, what that means is usually another website was compromised or people used bad passwords that you can find on the dark web. And they use the same password on multiple systems, including 23andMe. And then what happens is it's not just those 14,000 people, but it's all the people that they connected to because you were encouraged to connect to others. So now 6.9 million people, the relatives of the users whose accounts were breached. And of course, 23andMe, their explanation was, well, it's not our fault because it was the users who chose the bad passwords. And there's and actually one of the things we talk about in the course in the cybersecurity certificate program, we actually have labs where we show you password cracking, and so you can actually, it's something that 23andMe could have done.
Moving on to the next slide here, the SEC rule. Maybe William, you're not visible, audible to us.
I coughed. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. No worries, no worries.
So the SEC, if you're in the United States and you're publicly traded, you have to comply with these rules from the SEC. And the SEC has this new rule where you have to disclose cybersecurity incidents, which is really stepping up the game because like healthcare has been very problematic for years because they had these concepts of what's a reportable breach and, did the records actually get exfiltrated and was it more than a certain number of records? And we had some states that would have some certain laws, but was it in California? There's a law. Was it New York? There's a law. Oh, not in New York or California. Oh, there's not a law in that state. Oh, I don't have to report it. Now the SEC says, because this is now nationwide, if you're publicly traded, yes, you do. Right. And if you're a large organization, December 15th, 2023, right, you have to do these annual filings. And you also have to do the Form 8Ks actually beginning December 18th. So this is already in place unless you're a small organization. Let's say, a church is not a publicly traded company, but if you were publicly traded, but you were a very small organization, that you only have until June. And then you have to start reporting also. So, and it's out there, the SEC website. And now this really drives the impetus because now you have to report it now, right? You can't just bury it in the woodwork for the rest of the year. So now that, and the SEC has recognized that cybersecurity is more important. Not more important, it is crucial. Cybersecurity is a crucial, and it really, because the SEC is concerned about the investments in these organizations. Why do I want to invest in an organization that's had a breach? Did they just sweep it under the rug? Right. And of course, we had a couple big breaches last year. Caesars, looking at you, right? The Caesars Resorts, big breach last year.
Thank you so much for sharing about the SEC rule here. And then next comes the example
This
here
was the
of,
first one.
yeah. And next comes the example here of the loan report 8K SEC filing on Jan 8th.
Loan Depot and oh gosh, what was it? It was like Mr. Mortgage or something. I forget the friendly name for them. But Loan Depot was the first one that got the report. They did not like being first. They had an immediate call for incident response. It basically took down the capability to make loan payments. Now, you're a mortgage servicer. And I've talked with people. I've talked with a mortgage specialist like within the last 2 weeks, and we were talking about mortgages, and he says, "Oh yes, we love these accounts for your interest. It's not your interest, but your taxes and your homeowner's insurance, and they have it in an escrow account." And no, that's one of the things about servicing a mortgage, that they want that payment on that day because they're processing billions and billions of dollars in mortgage payments. Now, if you tell your customers they have to schedule loan payments, are your customers going to schedule a loan payment on the first or when they get around to it? It's going to be when they get around to it. I'm going to look at my watch and go, is it the 15th? No. Am I in my grace period? It's a big hurdle. And, the Loan Depot lost access to certain company systems, and there was the encryption of data. And well, with ransomware, nation state actors love ransomware. They're well funded. When you encrypt someone's data, more than likely, you took it first. You took the data, you started encrypting the data, and you don't notify the other party until you've actually you've completed your actions on the objectives, and your last thing is to say, okay, now I've encrypted your data. So yeah, that means all the personal data, like the banking details, are likely exfiltrated. Your routing numbers, your account numbers, debit card numbers if they take debit card numbers, social security numbers associated with your home loan. The fact that you own this home and this loan has all been exfiltrated. Very likely exfiltrated. Forensics were ongoing. We haven't heard the aftermath yet. We'll see how the dust settles on this. But they had to report it on January 8th. Didn't have a choice. They couldn't bury it until the annual filing because of the severity.
Thank you so much for taking us through these interesting examples here, William. Now that we have talked about the skills, we have talked about what career paths will be in demand in the cybersecurity space in 2024, and also taking you through some interesting examples and instances in the cybersecurity world. So we would love to know what exactly is stopping you from becoming a cybersecurity expert here, or pursuing a career in cybersecurity field. What are the challenges you're facing? So we have few options here you can choose from. I've just launched a poll. This one is a multiple choice poll where you can select multiple options because there can be multiple challenges or concerns you might be facing when it comes to pursuing a career in cybersecurity or becoming a cybersecurity expert. So I'll just read out those options for you. So the first one here is, I can't find a program with a fully comprehensive curriculum. Second one, I wouldn't get the practical exposure I need to become job ready. And the third one, I find it difficult to learn from pre-recorded videos. And the fourth one, my work schedule won't allow me enough time for learning. So these are the four options here you can choose from. Also, if you have any other challenges or concerns or queries, apart from these as well. So we are again like open. The Q&A box is open. You can put down your queries there, and we'll try to take as many questions as possible, as mentioned earlier, throughout the session whenever the speaker gets time. So please make sure this is a really good time to go and put on your questions as well once you're done with this poll. So if you have any questions about cybersecurity as a career, and we'll be talking more about the program in the upcoming slides in detail. Awesome. I see most of you have already responded for this poll here. So last 5 seconds, folks, for a few of the folks who are still voting, what's stopping you from becoming a cybersecurity expert? You can quickly choose from all of these 4 options, select as many options as possible, sharing with us, what is the concern here when it comes to pursuing a career in cybersecurity. I'll be ending the poll now because I see most of you have already responded to the poll. Let me quickly end the poll and also share the results with you folks and our speaker. So let's see what have you voted for. So what's stopping you from becoming a cybersecurity expert was the question. And we see 65% of you have voted for, I wouldn't get the practical exposure I need to become job ready. And 41% of you have voted for, I can't find a program with a fully comprehensive curriculum. And 30% of you have voted for, my work's schedule won't allow me enough time for learning. And 22% of you have voted for, I find it difficult to learn from pre-recorded videos here. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. That definitely gives us an understanding of what exactly are the challenges you're facing when it comes to pursuing a career in cybersecurity. So let me stop sharing that and quickly introduce you to the program here, the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp. So the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp comes with a comprehensive curriculum with an industry-aligned learning path. It will give you access to integrated labs and hands-on projects for practical experience. And also, you get access to online live virtual classrooms with peer and instructor interaction. The program duration, I think few of you have asked about that. It is of 6 months, and you can just complete it by giving 5 to 10 hours per week. From the experience poll which we saw, a lot of you were experienced folks as well. So this will definitely make it very flexible to fit your lifestyle with just giving 5 to 10 hours per week to complete this program in 6 months of duration. We'll be talking more about basically what happens in the learning environment and what kind of interaction also happens between the peer and the instructor here in the learning environment when we go towards that. So talking about what exactly you'll be getting from this particular program. At the end of it all, you'll be getting a Caltech CTME Bootcamp certificate, as you can see on your screen, from the California Institute of Technology, Center for Technology and Management Education. Here you'll be getting certified for the program, Cybersecurity Bootcamp. And as mentioned earlier, the hands-on projects and integrated labs, you will be receiving up to 26 CEUs from the Caltech CTME. 26 CEUs, interestingly, is 260 hours of learning, which is quite useful. Which you can basically utilize here from this program. Also, you'll be getting to be a part of the Caltech CTME Circle membership for basically the Cybersecurity Bootcamp learners, and also career assist services from Simplilearn. We'll be talking more about that in detail in the upcoming slides, and also an online convocation once you basically complete the program here. Interesting thing about online convocation, you can not just invite your closest family or closest friends, but also far relatives and a lot of friends to this particular convocation, which makes it very unique and an interesting experience here. Talking about the Caltech CTME advantage here. So the California Institute of Technology, Caltech is a 130-year-old institution. Caltech is the home of alma maters of many Nobel laureates. Caltech consistently ranks in the top 5 universities worldwide, and having a Caltech CTME on your CV is a prestigious accomplishment recognized worldwide. Talking more about the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp in the upcoming slides, but let's quickly take you through the learning environment of the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp, giving you an inside look of what happens when you take up this program, what are things are accessible to you, how you can manage your curriculum, how exactly you access the live virtual classroom. Is it just pre-recorded videos, or actually you get to interact with the instructor? William will be sharing more about that in this learning environment. So William, let me just quickly give you the access to share your screen as well. And meanwhile you're doing that, we already have started getting some fantastic questions in the Q&A box, and we'll be answering those questions whenever the speaker gets time. So keep the questions coming. In case we are not able to answer it throughout the session, we'll be answering towards the end. So please don't worry. So, yeah. Are you sharing your screen? Awesome. We are able to see your screen, William. Folks, please do let us know if the screen is visible to you of the learning environment. You can just drop us a yes or no in the chat.
So I've logged in to the LMS already. I typed in my username and my password. And Simplilearn, as Rasha mentioned earlier, I've been a trainer with Simplilearn over a decade now. And there were a lot of individual certifications like the CISSP or the CISA, and it would just be focused on that one certification for a few days. So, it might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, something like that, but it's very narrow focus. And so the university programs here, like this Caltech program here, you see that when I log in, okay, that's one of the programs that I have access to as a trainer in this program. And so once I click on that and I go in, right, now I see the different courses that are here in the program. And I won't mention them now because I think we have another slide where we break out what each of these courses are. But I'll say here, we do have the courses, and we also have electives that you're not required to do these. In this case, office hours, trainers like myself, we're available. We make ourselves available. And for the projects, you make ourselves available. And as you go through, there's a series of courses that you're working through your progress. You're getting those clear demarcations, and you actually end up with a certificate out of each one of those. And then at the end of the program, the certificate program, then you get the certificate. And that certificate, it does fall under the category of education that you could put on a resume, because this is the Caltech CTME program. You absolutely list it under that education. So I log in and I see the different courses that are available. And here, I've just logged in and we see a couple things here. So let me just narrow that box down a little bit. I'm looking at the red team, which is our last course. I just preloaded the last course here. So we have the penetration testing problem. As we go through these courses here, we have these competency checkpoints. You get like I said, each one of these courses, they have their own certificate. And let me see if I expand that. Oops, I lost it there. Okay. Yeah, so live class right now, I'm not going to see any live classes because this portal, I don't see it. Like if I had a live session going on, like a live cohort, you would see them here. The sessions are recorded, and you would see them. You would see them in here. Say, okay, there was a class, say Monday. I wasn't able to attend it for some reason. I can go back and I can watch the recording. Now, in order to get the certificate, right, you do need to attend 80% of one live class. Right. So, we understand, obviously, people can't attend every single class live, but we do encourage you to attend it live. Absolutely. And of course, you see the different topics, subtopics here. As you're going through the program, you're working through this with your trainers, with your instructors, right? And the instructor will demonstrate, like this particular one, I just picked at random, ping sweep, port scanning, and service scanning, and then you'll do an exercise. So, and these are, as you go through, they start off step-by-step instructions, and then as you get further on, you have to do more and more of this yourself. You're actually building your own skills, and so it's not click here, click here, click here. You're going through those steps and learning all of those steps. And as you're completing, for instance, that certificate, and you're completing that the project rather, that I talked about here, you could download the document, you can read it, and then you go do it. And where you're doing it, right, is on that practice labs tab. And I say labs plural because you see that you've got reconnaissance, vulnerabilities, privileged escalation, and a CTF. right? So you've got multiple labs that you launch, and then like when you go into that one and did it, okay. So I launched it a couple times to make sure it was going to be ready. And what I wanted to show you here is that, I chose in this the first lab, you have a choice of a Windows machine or a Kali machine, right? And it's a fully functional machine. And it's awesome because it's up in the cloud. It is hosted on resources. You can access these systems 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, virtually, right? I know sometimes updates happen. Um, sometimes there's network connectivity, but in theory, anytime, right? So it's not just during the class time. And it's a fully functional machine, right? And of course, you're not doing it on your machine. So you have these options in here that, you could actually go in and basically reboot it and say, okay, you know what? I tried something in Kali, it didn't work. I'm just going to reboot it. And you're not affecting any of your own systems. So, it's not, people say, oh, well, I'll just do like some virtual machines on my local systems. I don't know. Do I really want to be mucking around with viruses on a local machine that could overrun myself? This is an isolated environment. If anything happens, you're not interfering with your personal life. You're not interfering with your work life. I, as someone who's led security programs for companies, don't ever want people mucking around with these, with a work machine. We're going to lock that machine down so you can't do it, right? And this is accessible via web browser, so it doesn't have to be a high-powered machine because all of the resources are on the back end. They're on the cloud. Like I said, you can open up those labs. So you have the document, you're working on the project, you're working on in the course, in the classwork. And the other element I wanted to show you, oops, sorry about that, folks. There. Let's get rid of that. All right, is Slack. All right. So the Slack environment, when you're in these classes and you're able to access your instructor outside of class hours, and you're also able to communicate with other learners in the program. And here's just one example. This was just a post that CISA, they're having an online hiring event back on November 30th of last year. So I just picked a post at random that I could show you without revealing anyone else's names, any of the learners, because you're in your own cohort, right? There's a general all boot camps, and then there's also ones for your specific cohort. So and through the Slack interface, right, you can get into a huddle, and that could be with your other team members, or it could be with your instructor. And of course, we encourage that, right? Those capstone projects that you complete, we encourage you work with others. That's the whole point, and you learn from each other as you go through that. Let me see if there are any questions about that in particular. I don't think I see. Okay. Is it all virtual? So well, the question just came in. Will there be any hands-on classes, or is it all virtual? So if you sign up for the Caltech CTME Cybersecurity Bootcamp, that's what this lab environment is you would look at, and I got to click back out here. Let's just say I click back out here, right? And I say, okay, here's this lab, right? Perform a scan of the local /24 subnet on which your Kali system resides. Okay. So how do we want to do that? Well, let's say, and so of course, sometimes, we'll step through these, right? So I'll say, oh, I have config. Let's say, oh, nope, not there. Okay, hold on. Okay, so it's not included in the path. Okay. Well, no, hold on. Nope, sorry. Got it. What am I doing? Oh, okay. Well, and we could talk about how to update the path, or I'm just going to do it now. I'm just going to say I have config and see what we get. Okay, here we go. So I've got my interface, right? And there's no place like 127.0.0.1, and we see our IP address here, right? 172.31.40.137, right? And I do see the subnet mask. Yes, that's the /24. Now, so ping sweep, right? We could use the ping command to do that, and and again, this is a fully functional machine that you could do, and you could just run these commands, whatever you're looking for, right? And work through that exercise. And of course, there's ping sweeps, there's nmaps, this is a full copy of Kali Linux for you to work with. So hopefully that answers your question there. As far as, yes, there absolutely is a hands-on component to it. Oh, and every time you do those projects that we talk about, one of the things we talk about is, when you go look for employment later, these projects that you're doing, when you complete one of these, where we were here, right? The penetration testing problem, right? And you want to submit that assignment, that document that you create, you put that in your portfolio. And then when you're looking for work, someone says, well, have you done X, Y, or Z? And even I will get asked, can you give me an example of a policy? Can you give me an example of a report? And, it's a very small report. So, they're not a full report, fully redacted, but if someone asks you for those work samples, these projects that you're doing, you keep them in your portfolio. You're okay. Whenever someone wants an example of something, I might have one of those. Right. And so that's what this program is also equipping you with, is as you go through this program, as you're developing your skills, you're getting these work samples that you keep in your portfolio. And then when you have that interview and that interviewer says, do you have an example of X? You very likely have a copy of X. Right. And you're able to practice this and do different scenarios the whole time, of course. And now you've got those samples that you can give to potential employers. So you actually do have some hands-on experience. I'm going to turn it back over to Rasha.
Sure, William. Thank you so much for taking us to the learning environment here. Let me quickly share back my screen. Awesome. So we just went through the learning environment of the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp. In case you have any questions, please do let us know in the Q&A box, as mentioned earlier. So here, talking about the eligibility and the prerequisites for joining this program, you need to have a basic knowledge of programming concepts and mathematics. You need to be at least 18 years of age or older and have a high school diploma that is required for joining this program. And you need to have prior work experience. It is not compulsory, but basically you can have some kind of experience, but having no experience is totally okay while you're taking up this program. Also, let's talk about how this program prepares you. Talking about how this program builds your cybersecurity skills step by step. Maybe William, can you take us through these steps here? Now that you've already taken us through the learning environment here, maybe these steps will also help folks maybe answer their questions about how exactly this program is working in terms of what exactly is taught before and how do we go step by step.
Yep, absolutely. So a moment ago, I showed you in the LMS the first course in the certificate series is this Introduction to Cybersecurity Bootcamp, where you're getting to learn your other learners that you're going to be working with for the next 6 months. And then cybersecurity fundamentals, we get on the same language. We get on the same terms of cybersecurity. We understand what's a threat versus a vulnerability, what's a risk, and and how this technology works together. And then we build upon that. And that's what's happening. Every one of these courses is building upon the previous course. So we make sure everybody's got a good foundation. Then we take you into Linux, not Kali, just regular Linux in the first one. And for instance, like a ping sweep, right, would be one of the labs that we would do that you saw I jumped into. I was like, okay, here we go. And we talk about the file system. We talk about the commands in Linux, because that's what a lot of our security appliances are running at a core. If you're a Mac user, a lot of those commands look very familiar, with ifconfig, and the when you've dropped into that command or that terminal, that shell, if you will. And then we talk about network systems and how everything interconnects. Someone had asked earlier about programming and languages. And do I have to be a programmer? No. Now, inevitably, earlier you heard me mention automation. Yes, you're going to want to script things, right? And we've picked Python in this certificate program because it is a language that is easy to understand. It is quite often used. And the skills that you learn in Python can translate. So if you want to do Go or Ruby or Rust or something like that, what you learn in Python, you understand the concept of logic. That's one of the key things. People say mathematical questions or the logic. And I'll say, well, an example would be you're going to the store and you're buying, you're buying some sort of a hardware tool and you're buying some groceries. And when you go to the checkout counter, they have to figure out, well, these are taxable and these are not taxable, or these are taxed at this rate. And that's the concept of logic, right? How do you properly compute that bill, calculate that bill? And of course, we apply that in security terms of, parsing through event logs or parsing through audit logs, because we were looking for threats and we're looking for malicious activity. And so, yes, I want to have some automation there that will bring those things out of the woodwork and help me focus what to look at. Then, of course, now we shift gears to Windows. And so we look at system administration from the Windows side of things with Active Directory. And then now that you've learned all this, you've learned Linux, you've learned networking, you've learned Windows, you've learned some scripting. Now let's talk about how you actually, and you kind of stood up some of these things. Now, how do you perform these red team exercises and, or ethical hacking, right? So yes, this is designed to be strong and secure, but how do the malicious actors get in, right? So the right way to use the system. Now, how do you use that system for malicious purposes? And then we also have a section where we talk about how do you defend against those attackers and how do you enhance those defenses. And it's all based to it's basically taking up that ladder. And so it's not just 4 days or 2 weeks. This is 3 nights a week for 4 hours a night, over a 6-month period. And it's in digestible pieces, and there's a predetermined flow that you can follow. So you're not just, some people say, oh, I'll just pick up a book. But then I'm like, okay, I know people who have been looking at books for 3 years. And every time I talk to this one person in particular, I always have to go, yes, you could try to do this on your own. But if you're doing it on your own, if you don't have a schedule, it doesn't get done. And he's proof positive. But now as you're going through this, right, at the end of it, you've got the work samples, right? You've got the projects, you've got a certificate to show your employers. It's step by step. So we're not just dumping you in. Like people say, oh, can I just be an ethical hacker? Well, if you've got experience, yes, maybe you could. But I think what I saw with some of the responses was, well, no, I don't have the experience. Or I think sometimes we see those folks who have more than 5 years of experience, but maybe you're transitioning into cybersecurity. And that's fine too, actually. This program is set up so that you do not you don't have to be a cybersecurity expert coming into it. You could be a barista. You could be working in retail, and you can get up to speed. And at the end of the 6 months, you will know what you need to know in order to get that job and to launch your cybersecurity career.
Thank you so much, William, for sharing some light on these skills, basically how they develop during this program, step by step. Moving on about the electives here in the previous slide, they're optional. It is up to you if you want to take them up. We don't charge anything extra for that. So in case you have any questions, once again, you can let us know. Or we also have global leaders as program advisors. We have Rick Hefner, who's the Caltech CDMA program director with over 40 years of experience in systems development and has served in academic, industrial, and research positions as well. So basically, Rick Hefner, who's the global leader here from Caltech, makes sure that Simplilearn is delivering as per standards of Caltech here. Moving on to the learner outcomes here. Interestingly, the previous classes of learners have consisted of learners from world-class organizations and diverse industries here. Industries being IT, software product, BFSI, healthcare, and many others, and companies being Microsoft, Amazon, Netflix, LinkedIn, Oracle, Adobe, Nasdaq, and much more, right, which we couldn't put in on the slide. Also, the job assist services, which we talked about earlier. We have partnered with Talent Inc. This is for US candidates. In this particular job assist service, you get access to the job portal Resume Rabbit, which has a wide employer network and a verified job search framework to provide unique jobs here. And also a resume review and rewrite service, which we have partnered with Top Resume here through Talent Inc. Where you get assigned a writer who will basically collaborate with you one on one, and also they will draft it between a week from the first contact, and there will be 2 rounds of revision as well. Why we cannot miss on the interview part here, right? Once you're done with the program, the preparing for an interview is like the most important thing. And here you get access to top interview, where you get one-on-one interview service as well through this job assist services, where you get to interview with the practitioner SME based on the skill set you have in a resume. And you also will be receiving a continuous feedback as well through these one-on-one interview service. So these are the services which we have partnered with Talent Inc. So we have talked about the skills, we have talked about the career paths you can take up in the cybersecurity space in 2020. We have talked about a lot of interesting examples, how cybersecurity plays a very important role in our personal and business lives. We have talked about how this cybersecurity bootcamp by Caltech builds your cybersecurity skills step by step. And also we've talked about how these projects you get to work on through this program, all the certificates you attain, how exactly they are important to build your portfolio once you're done with the program, and while you're trying to get out there and basically, land a job of your dreams in cybersecurity or start a career in cybersecurity. So we would love to know, are you interested in enrolling into the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp? I'm quickly launching a poll, which will ask, would you like to enroll into the program? And you can share your responses, yes, for sharing your interest towards enrolling. So I've just launched that poll right now. You can quickly go and respond yes. For folks who are responding yes, who would like to enroll into the Catholic Cybersecurity Bootcamp, we'll be quickly taking you through the enrollment steps, just to give you an overview of what exactly happens once you have shared your interest in enrolling into the Catholic Cybersecurity Bootcamp, and also the upcoming cohort, which is the next immediate one. I see one question in the YouTube live chat box as well. I want to join this immediately. This is a great opportunity. So when is the next basically class starting? So I'll be sharing about that as well. When is the next upcoming cohort as well for you to join? Let's give it like 10-15 seconds more, because I see as I was talking about the program, I see most of you folks have shared responses for the poll here. And I see a lot of interest towards enrollment. So that's great, but I think let's give 10-15 seconds for a few of the folks who are still thinking about it. And also, folks, this is a really good time. If you're responding yes, and if you still have any queries about the program, even after this, the Simplilearn's learning consultants, when they get on a call with you, they will be taking you through a much more detailed walkthrough of the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp and sharing you much more details about that. But right now, if you have any questions about the program or cybersecurity career in general, William Bailey will be helping you out with any of the queries we have. So we'll be moving towards the Q&A part of the session here pretty soon. So this is a really good time to go and put down any questions you might have about the program. I see a few responses on the YouTube live chat box as well. I see someone saying that, hello everyone, bootcamps are good. I am in one and they teach you a lot of tools and you gain knowledge. Agree to that. Not able to make out your name from the username here. Folks who have joined us live on YouTube, again, this is a really good time for you to also go and share your interest towards enrollment. How you can do that is, if you just click on the description of this live YouTube channel, this particular video, you will be seeing a link on the top of the description, which is the Caltech Cybersecurity link towards the program. You can just click on that. I see I see that you have shared that yes, I'm interested in the YouTube live chat box. This is for you as well. So you can just click on the description of this live video on YouTube, which you're watching right now. And on the top itself, you'll find the link towards basically sharing your interest towards enrollment. So please click on that and it will take you to the program page and it will ask you for a few details to basically enroll into the program. Please quickly do that for folks who have joined us live on YouTube and are sharing response as that, interest towards enrollment here into the program. So I see most of you have responded to this poll. So last 5 seconds, folks, are you interested in enrolling to the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp? quickly go and respond as yes to this poll, which is launched on Zoom, to basically share your interest. So last 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll. Thank you so much. I saw a lot of interest towards enrollment, so let me quickly take you through the enrollment steps here for folks who have shared their interest towards enrollment. Now that you've already shared your interest, so learning consultants from Simplilearn will be getting in touch with you, and they will be taking you through these 3 simple, easy steps you will have to follow. So here, the step 1 here is you will have to submit an application. They will make you apply at askus@simplilearn.net. And based on that, the next step, application will be going for review. Caltech CTMA will be reviewing your qualifications based on the eligibility and the prerequisites I've shared earlier with you. And also the last step here is admission. So the learning consultants will be again contacting you with the admissions offer based on the cohort basically you choose. So I see some of you have asked for the immediate cohort, so I'll be sharing that right now. And few of you have asked that what are the other cohorts, apart from the next upcoming one. So I'll be talking more about that as well, how you can figure that out. So the program schedule and the program fee here. Let's start with the next upcoming cohort here. So the classes for the next immediate cohort will be starting on March 24th, and the introductory classes for this will be happening on March 25th. And the program fee here for US candidates here is 8,000 USD dollars. And I see a few of you have asked this repetitive question that can I pay this in monthly installments, or if there are any financing options available? So yes, we do have that. You can opt for basically monthly installment options for as low as $704 per month. And you can also ask your employer for tuition in reimbursement for those who are working professionals. For more assistance, even apart from all the basically details which we have shared, if you have any questions even after the webinar, you can basically share these questions with us. We will help you out at askus@simplilearn.net. I'm sharing this email ID with you on the chat here. You can make a note of it. Even if you have any questions after the webinar, if you have shared your interest towards enrollment, if not as well, in case you want to explore other basically programs as well with Simplilearn. And also, just to let you know, we have limited seats per cohort in order to make sure that once you take up this program, you're getting all the attention that's required, when you're taking up this program. So moving on to the Q&A part of the session here, we have gotten plenty of questions here, William. Maybe we have very few minutes, so let's quickly just maybe browse through these questions here.
Yep.
The first one here is by Karan here. Says that currently I'm pursuing my CSE, Computer Science core. And can I make a career in cybersecurity?
Absolutely. And computer science, it's funny, like I said at the beginning when I started, it was information technology or computer science. And then afterwards they said, what about security? And security is like that specialization. And it's, of course, that is an excellent area to go into. They're just the need for cybersecurity people has just grown exponentially. And let's see. And I see that question actually twice there. If you have interest in cybersecurity, it is growing, right? Because we are not, it's sort of that Pandora's box. It's, cybersecurity and the nation states. We didn't, hound about nation states, but, do a Google search and look up, Romania ransomware. There are 25 hospitals in Romania that got taken offline, and another 75 that had to take their systems offline because if they hadn't, they would be breached because they were running the same vulnerable platform. So, cybersecurity is not going away. And if you don't believe, and go look at your next new car and look at all the technology that is cloud-based. And sort of someone had also said, how do I do this as an individual if I'm having Nest or mobile phones or Roomba, robot vacuums? If you're using mobile phones or Roombas or Nest, the number one thing is update them. Some of the devices are great and they'll automatically push the updates. And great. Okay, take the updates, right? Install those updates. Now, of course, you do have to sometimes end of life things. Like I have a Samsung phone and it stopped getting updates in August. I need to get off that phone. because there are vulnerabilities that are just not going to be patched on that phone. And so, that's actually on my to-do list. I did not get the AI phone yet. Sorry. You know, the other thing is change default passwords. Anything that has a password, change the default password. And someone had said multi-factor authentication is one of their questions. Well, the whole trick of multi-factor authentication, if you know my password is password, now you all know my password is password. Now, for auditing purposes, I don't know who typed in that password because it's just like a key that I could take to the local hardware store and copy. The whole point of multi-factor is now when someone tries to authenticate, it now pings you at like a cell phone that you've registered or an email address that you've registered, and you have to answer it real time. Right? And that's the whole point of that multi-factor. And so 23andMe was one of our examples. Well, if they had multi-factor capabilities, that could have greatly reduced the likelihood of getting the information breached. Now, of course, that costs money, and not everyone wants to do it. All right. So I know I sort of rolled like 4 questions together at one there, Rush. um, I think we talked about the certificate being recognized. It's, Caltech CTME, it's recognized worldwide. It is from an academic institution. And I think we talk about programming and how we use Python and scripting as your scripting language. And then, of course, if you want to do more, you can take it from there. Can you learn cybersecurity without a PC? Yes, you just need a web browser. I recommend a PC. I recommend, but because the lab environment is cloud-based, you just need a web browser. That's what you have to have is a web browser, right? Can cybersecurity guarantee the safety and protection of data and other resources? I'm going to say you never eliminate all risks. You can reduce the risks, right? But it's just like driving my car. I could be the best driver in the world. The speed limit's 55. I'm doing 45. And I've got 5 car lengths ahead of me, whatever it is, right? And I've still got some idiot who comes at me, or the act of God and the tree falls. So I can never eliminate, but you can go a long way to protecting resources. And that's usually when those SEC, and anytime a company gets action taken against them, it's usually because they weren't doing the right things, because they were the person going down that road at 90 miles an hour in the rain, in the snow, and with bald tires. They're not doing the right things. Well, the class is pretty fast paced, but actually when you join that cohort, remember I said it's 3 nights a week. So when you're going through that course, what was it? The cohort I was teaching, it was Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you've got Tuesday, you've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you have extra time, and those labs are available to you. And it's not offline. It is, it's online, right? And I think that actually I kind of wrapped all the questions in sort of little packets there. I think we got all of them that we had, unless I missed one. And now the courses are, the courses are in English. Someone has said about certification. So just sort of general question. You heard me mention that there are boot camps, which you might do, like say 4 days or 10 days for a boot camp. Keep in mind, this is a whole certificate program. It is a well-rounded program. So, because if I just, and I've seen this for years, I teach the Certified Ethical Hacker boot camps. And sometimes we'll have people who will jump in and then they look at it and, it's the deer in the headlights. And this is a program where you don't have to have any experience to get started, and you're going step by step and you're building your skill set as you go. Now, what I usually tell people as they're going through this program, although this is not, say, Security Plus, technically, you probably could sit for the Security Plus exam. And that's a good 1-2 punch kind of combination. The certifications absolutely help. The education absolutely help. And this then it just forms a very good pairing of the Caltech CTME certificate. And then you could then pursue, Network Plus or Security Plus on your own to supplement this.
Thank you so much, William, for taking most of the questions here throughout the session and also towards the end. We will be moving towards the end of the session here. I'm so sorry, this webinar is in English, so we won't be able to basically explain things in Hindi. But Buran, please do let me know if you have any questions. If this does basically, if you have not covered your question here, or if you have a question and you're not able to basically ask it here, I'm just sending you this email ID. You can let us know. You can just mail it here and we will be reaching out to you with all the help that is required. So we are towards the end of the session now, and we have exceeded the time limit a little bit because of the plenty of questions we have gotten in the Q&A box. And thank you so much, William, for answering all of them. We will be ending the session now. So William, would you like to say something to the audience before we end the session?
Oh, thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully, hopefully if you join us, we'll see you in a future cohort. Hopefully you found this beneficial. If you say, okay, I'm going to think about it, still, cybersecurity affects us all. It affects us personally. It affects us in business. And I for those of you who are looking to, jumpstart your cybersecurity career, cybersecurity is definitely a great place to be. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you so much once again. Thank you for being an amazing audience here, folks. I noticed that you have asked questions about the webinar certificate and the recording link. So I'm just talking about it once again, just to remind you. For the webinar certificate, you will have to fill the post-webinar survey, which will just pop up right now when I end the session. And in that, you will have to put down your full name for the webinar certificate, not the program certificate. That is different. And once you that is required to get the certificate. So please make sure to do that. So we would have to need that data to understand what to put down in the webinar certificate when we send it to you. And also, folks, if you want the recording link, you can expect that over mail in case you miss anything or you would like to go through the session once again, because we do not share the presentation slides. I think few of you have asked for, but you can have a look at it anytime you want. You can expect the link in the next 24 to 48 hours to be in your inbox. So thank you so much once again. Also, there'll be a feedback section in the post-webinar survey. In case you have any suggestions how we can make our webinars better and more value adding for you, please do let us know. We would love to hear that as well. So thank you so much, folks. Thank you. We'll be ending the session now.